Hello friends, my name is Reverend Thomas Harper. I am one of the associate pastors at St. Luke's United Methodist Church. And this is In It Together, our daily devotional video series where we are continuing to connect to one another even though we are physically separated. Here's a plant in my background to try to make me look more professional as a videographer. Don't know if it's really doing the job or not, but instead of just the white background, you get a plant. Today I wanted to talk to y'all about a spiritual discipline that has greatly benefited me, that I've been practicing for about 5 years now, ever since I left seminary. One of the last classes that I took in seminary was a pastoral self-care class. And I remember thinking not much about the class before I started. It was just going to be about how to take breaks and how to take care of yourself and so you don't burn out in ministry. It wasn't even a required course. Looking back, I think it probably should have been, because it greatly impacted my approach to what spiritual disciplines are, why we practice them, and why they're a benefit for us. Because growing up, I had thought of spiritual disciplines as just something you're supposed to do to be a good Christian. You're supposed to read your Bible. You're supposed to go to church. You're supposed to pray every day so that you'll be closer to God, and that's what we're supposed to do as Christians. The Westminster Catechism of 1646 said, "The chief end of humanity is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever." See, our job is to find Jesus and glorify Him part. But when it came to spiritual disciplines, I never got to the and enjoy Him forever part. It's under this realization that our ultimate joy, our ultimate desire is to know and love God. That's what we were created for. And everything else in this world is really secondary to that. So any joy that we have in hobbies or our job or in our accomplishments or even in our family, that is only a benefit to us as a secondary joy to our ultimate desire of our hearts in Jesus Christ. Everything else either brings us closer to God, and is therefore a blessing to us. And so if our job brings us closer to God, or our family brings us closer to God, or our hobbies bring us closer to God, then that is enriched by our first love. Anything else on the other side of things that brings us farther away from God is a curse, and further separates us from our first joy. Takes God's rightful place on the throne in our hearts. And if you know how that works, that people put false gods in their life, then they find themselves robbed more and more of their relationship with God, and thus joy in their life. And that's anything, friends. If your family puts in God's place in your heart, will end up being not a blessing for you. And so spiritual disciplines are more than just a way for you to be a better Christian. It helps remind you to put God in God's rightful place so that you can better enjoy all those other lesser blessings that God gives us in this world. With God first, then I'm free to understand that my love for sports is only as a means for my relationship with God. If I make sports my God, then I will be disappointed time and time again. And friends, that is with anything that you might put in God's rightful place. Richard Foster's well-known book, The Joy of Discipline, he talks about the slavery of ingrained habits in our lives. He wrote, "The purpose of disciplines is liberation from the stifling slavery of self-interest, of laziness, and of fear." I think it's really typical to just get in daily ruts. We are going and going, we're going to work every day, we've got our routines for the weekend, and we just get engraved in these ruts. And I thought, what better time for us to talk about starting new habits or breaking habits that we need to break in a time where all of our normalcy has been removed, all of our ruts have been broken down. And so friends, as I said at the beginning, what I want to do is I want to share with you something that I picked up from that class, that pastoral self-care class. And I started practicing this discipline as a means of beginning new habits and trying to break old habits that I needed to break down. And it started around this concept of what in your life gives you life. What a part of your normal day that is a blessing to you versus what in your daily life sucks the life from you. An answer to that may be traffic is a horrible life sucker during my day. And getting home and having my girls run up to me, yelling daddy and jumping in my arms, that gives me life. And this idea that we have things in our lives that give us life versus things in our life that suck our lives, but that we don't have to live in the places that suck our lives all the time. And so I think of, Facebook politics, that, yeah, it's there and I see it, but I don't have to live there. I can spend my time focusing on things that give me life and thus lead me closer to my first love, God. And so out of that, I came up with what I like to call my habits journal. Always wanted to be a journal person. Always wanted to write and keep a daily journal and have at the end of my life a big long list of books that I could go back to and read everything that was going on in my life. Here's the problem. I'm not very good at journaling. I'm not very good at sitting down and just writing about my day. And so this habits journal was a way for me to be able to do that, but also incorporate some of these spiritual disciplines that can help draw me closer to God, and in so doing, helped me put God in God's rightful place so that I can enjoy him forever and enjoy the things, the secondary things even better. So here's my habits journal. And what I did was I put images of things on the front that give me life and images of things on the back that suck life out of me. And then on the inside, what I would do is I would, on the left side of every page, I would put another image of something that brings me life, just as a visual reminder of things that I like and things that I want to be around. And so in here I see a bunch of pictures of my sports teams, Astros going to the World Series, got pictures of my wife, lots of pictures about how to eat healthy, how to stay in shape, and that sort of thing. And then on the right side, I write down 10 habits that I either want to form or to get rid of. It has been said that on average it takes more than 2 months before a new behavior becomes automatic. That's around 66 days. And so I just catered it to my life. Beginning back 5 years ago, I wrote, I want to learn Spanish. I never learned Spanish, but for several months, I was just in my free time practicing Spanish. I would write down things like, I want to work out 3 times a week. I want to read the entire New Testament. I want to read a new book every day. I want to stop drinking so much coffee and caffeine and putting limits on myself to kind of push back some of the things that can be damaging to me. And that became my habits journal. And over time, I saw that as I would put pictures of when my children were born, on date nights that my wife and I would go to, vacations, holidays, it would journal my life at the same time that I was practicing keeping God at the center of my life through either good habits or bad habits, or getting rid of bad habits. And in the end, I also wanted to kind of incorporate God into all of it. And so that God, you are a part of every aspect of my life, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. And so what I would do at the end of each day on the left side of the page underneath whatever image I put, I would just do something that I call highs and lows. I would talk to God and say, God, here was my high point for the day. And God, here was my low point for the day. And I see you in both, but I want you to, I want to live in the high points, and I want to live with you. And so before I get out of here, it's real easy. You can just get any kind of journal, any kind of book that you want. This was just a plain book. And then you go around and you find pictures that give you life, and you find pictures that take life from you. And so, for example, this is a picture of a video game that I really like. This is, of course, Jesus, who is the center of my life. And here's a picture of sandals where my wife and I went on our honeymoon together. And on the back, I have a picture of meetings that can sometimes suck my life. I have a picture of pressure to succeed in my job. And then I have a picture of anxiety and things that, the self-talk that I do to myself sometimes. And then we're done with things that suck our life because we don't want to focus on that. We spend the rest of our time putting pictures of things that give us life and things that bless us. So I have lots of pictures of my children. You can print stuff off the internet. And then on the right side of the page, I write down 10 habits that I am currently either trying to form and to make part of my everyday life, or 10 habits that I am trying to break so that I can not be in danger of putting something in God's rightful place at the center of my heart and kind of bringing it all together. And so, friends, I hope that this rambling has maybe inspired you to start some new habits or to maybe break some old ones that you need to. But just know that this will change and we will one day get past this, and how, in the meantime, we can find ourselves picking up new practices and maybe laying down some old ones. Take care of yourself, love each other well, and we'll see you again soon.